We are all sales people at some level. I always say that. Whether your kids are trying to argue for, pizza and cake for dinner, or whether you're trying to convince your boss to give you a longer lunch hour, whatever. We are all trying to sell something, an idea, a product, a point of view. Does that make us skilled manipulators? Is that a bad thing? Dr. John Braccio looks into it for us from Regional Psychological Services. How can understanding the skilled manipulator, or maybe self-understanding us if maybe we are one, how does that help us? Let's find out. Doc Braccio, hey, good morning. How are you?
Well, never better, my friend. And I think what we're talking about here is a negative person, okay? It doesn't have to necessarily be evil, but in the skilled manipulator, they're often charming, has charisma, can be very convincing. They are most sincere, loving, and caring persons. But in reality, they're the classic con person who's really trying to take advantage of persons, even if it's hard to admit. And we do really, if we're honest, have to admit we have been manipulated by others at one time or another. This doesn't mean we did something particularly wrong or dishonest. No, it simply means we did something we would not have done if someone had not manipulated us into doing it for one reason or another. Now, the advantage the skilled manipulator has is that most people are trusting and want to believe the motives of others. When they're with us, we just want to believe, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, they're not all manipulators or psychopaths and have no conscience, no, but they clearly are persons who want to control others and have them as they desire. The typical example really would be of the skilled manipulator is a person who gets you to help them move 2 times, okay? But is never available when you want to move, okay? They always have an excuse or a reason. They make all these promises, but they don't do it. Now, at a worse level is the manipulator who really claims to want to be your best friend, behave that way. You can even say they want to love you. But then what happens is they really let you down, okay? They're just really trying to take advantage of you. They just want you to fall for them. And this becomes a very dangerous kind of a situation. And so we really do have to be aware of, who we're dealing with. And then if you do challenge them, and there are people that can be wonderful and think you're clever, witty, and all these things until you all of a sudden start challenging. Well, I don't believe that way, or I don't agree with you. Then for people like this, they'll gaslight and do everything they can to try to convince you that you're wrong, okay? Mm-hmm. And so this is a danger, and the more gullible you are, or the more you're trying to be getting along with people, the more susceptible you really are. So now the narcissist, the manipulator, is really easier to spot because it doesn't take long to realize that they just focus just on themselves. Now, the psychopath manipulator is clearly evil, and because they have no sense of right or wrong, they're the most skillful. And they come across as trustful and honest and wanting your best interest taken into account. Now, they're more difficult to deal with if you're in the workplace. They're the type that can try to control you with a Machiavellian type of, just trying to take control and just wanting you to fall into line. They're also the type that will really convince you that the job you're in is so critical, so if we even can find a better job, they convince you not to take it. There's a great future with you. But all of a sudden, if they've got a better opportunity, they just up and leave. And, Mike, I've seen this. I've seen people stay in jobs. They wanted to do something different, but they felt they had to, guilt, call it what you will. And then all of a sudden, the person who's trying to get them to stay, they all of a sudden up and leave, take another job, and they may at best say, well, good luck to you. There's still a good opportunity for you. Bye-bye. Now, the best defense against the skilled manipulator, you've got to set boundaries for what you're going to do, what you believe. And you need to learn saying no is an appropriate response. You don't have to always say yes. And the old saying that when someone appears to be too good to be true, well, that often is generally true, and it's a good standard to initially judge people. Not that you're going to find them negative, but you do have to be aware and look out after yourself, because there's the minor level manipulator, the one who just gets you to go along with them. And then there's the real negative, skillful. They're equally skillful, but some are more evil and wrong. Have you fall for them, do things, take advantage of you. So you really do have to watch out in life. And unfortunately, everybody gets duped one time or another. And hopefully we don't get involved with a psychopath who's very skillful and clever and can just really take advantage of us. So in life, we just have to be willing to be who we are, not let others control us and take advantage of us and hurt us if you will. Don't want to have that happen.
There are various levels of a skilled manipulator. Who was Ted Bundy? Remember, Ted Bundy would have been oh boy. That would have been the very negative side. Yes. But we are all sort of manipulators. Manipulation has maybe that's too strong of a word, because we are all trying to sell ourselves or our position or maybe even a product or something. But you're saying the skilled manipulator in this case, what you're talking about is someone who, I wonder if these types of folks, man, you can probably speak better to it. You're the guy. Is those narcissists, those skilled manipulators seek out people because there's a whole another section of people on the opposite end who are pleasers for whatever reason. They just want everyone to be happy around them. So the skilled manipulator comes in and says, well, then please me.
Listen, there's no question. I go back to the givers and the takers, okay? I mean, the manipulators often will find the givers, but it can be very, very, very unhappy situation if you're people that gaslight you and try to take advantage. And again, there is just the clever, witty person who gets you to do things. You kind of laugh at yourself afterwards that you got roped into something. That's one form of manipulation. And they're there, and we do have to watch out for them too, because you might end up helping people move every weekend, and when you've got to move, you got to do it yourself. Okay, so and I just use that as kind of a low-level activity. But again, the job situation, there's people, we're a team, we're working together. You're not looking for other opportunities, you need to turn them down, and then all of a sudden, poof, the person who's there all of a sudden runs off on you, the Machiavellian person who's just there to manipulate and have you do what they want and control you. So there are things to be aware of. We just want to be our own person. And I might add, manipulators, particularly skillful manipulators, they know who they can manipulate. Okay, they stay away from the person who sees right through them or potentially could see right through them. But you're right. They're looking for the pleasers, the people that always say yes. And they would convince them, more and more. Well, you believe this way until finally people do say, wait a minute now, this is not right. This doesn't work this way. And they move on. But it is amazing how manipulators are pretty good, the clever ones, and they can go on and on and on. They may go through people, but they're in a negative way, but they're out there. We all know people, even if we care for them, that take advantage of us or try to. All the time or some of the time.
I got to wonder from a psychological standpoint now then, in your experience, many years thereof, how are these people created? That is, our environment, how you grow up, it kind of shapes of who you are. Where do these people come from? What kind of background?
Well, I'd say many of them come from situations where they were not treated fairly themselves, okay? So they learn how to get things. They're survivors, okay? And there are others that are just, they're kind of selfish. They want things their own way, and they've learned they can do this. One of the things about manipulators is they may have this skill. They have this sixth sense. They know who they can take advantage of. So they just kind of get into that role, or no one's ever really made them, or even you have even been taught, sucker born every minute, make sure you find one. Okay.
You know what? This would be funny, but, almost funny, sad funny. A 2-year-old crying in a store in the shopping cart because they want something, and mom caves just to get them to be quiet. There's your skilled manipulator born right there. Give them years down the line of, crying. Well, okay. I don't know, maybe.
We can start that way. And of course, there's always the narcissists. They're part of this system too, but they're often the most easy to identify eventually because everything is for them. They think, like I said before, they're sun comes up in the morning, so they have light, and goes down at night, so they can go to sleep and not be disturbed. So again, but they're out there, and again, not already good people. They just like to get other people to enlist them to do things for them. They don't want to do it themselves. But I think people learn they can do it because they're clever, they're charming, and then there is the evil aspect too. The take control, the fear that might be, might in the Machiavellian kind of person. So you do have a range of people, but we all run into the clever, witty. Oh, you don't mind doing this, do you? Just take this over here and get this. And so you have to get to the point. No, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I'll be glad to help out, but I want you to be helpful to me. The last 12 times you moved, I've been there, and when I moved once, you were busy that day. Okay.
If you want to make friends, if you want to make friends fast at a young age, buy a pickup truck. Everybody wants you to haul something for them. Everybody does.
Well, you are very right, Mike.
Whew. Hey, wait a minute. Would you record that for me and just send me that? You are very right, Mike. I'll play that for my wife.
You were very right again, but don't say it all the time. How does that sound?
All right. Hey, Doc, we're up on time. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services. Look him up. Dr. John B., we appreciate your time. We'll do it again next week. How's that?
Good talking to you, buddy. Talk to you later.
Right.
Bye-bye.
See you later. 1320. All righty. 1320 WILS.